Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm Dr. Lino Martinez, your host, and today I am so happy to introduce Alicia Coppola. Coppola. Alicia Coppola is an actress, director, podcaster, producer, and a writer. Her entertainment career spans more than 30 years, including starring roles on TV in Jericho, Blood and Treasure, Why Women Kill, and in the feature films National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets, and We Are Your Friends, among others. Her published book, Gracefully Gone, chronicles her father's battle with brain cancer and inspired the award-winning short film Between Us, which Alicia wrote, directed, and starred in. And You Are, starring Jane Seymour, is her second award-winning short film that she wrote and directed. She supports various LGBTQ plus organizations and is a global ambassador for the Elizabeth Kübler Ross Foundation. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast. So awesome to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here. So happy to be here. I'm happy to meet you.
And the most awesome thing is that we're both in the LA area. I rarely meet people that are within my city, so this is really incredible. Welcome. And man, the weather's been pretty crazy. Did you feel that earthquake that we had a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I feel like, I've never been a fan of LA, and yet here I am, still here. I can't take the heat. And you know what? I feel like it's getting humider and humider. Or that's not even a word, more humid.
Yes.
And it almost feels like August in Manhattan.
Interesting,
like
huh?
Sticky icky.
You know what? I was feeling that too, just the last 3 days. It's more humid than it ever has been in LA.
Yes.
We rarely experience this humidity, so it's new for me. And I mean, it's pretty darn hot. And the earthquake that we had 2 days ago, that was pretty awful. I was at the gym, and just all the weight started to shake, and it was really loud. People gasped, and I was like, you know what? I'm leaving. I don't think I want to be here if there's a stronger one or an aftershock.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that was a little, I think the earth is mad. I just think the earth it's quaking. It's mad.
It's mad, and it also needs to release what's in there, because if it doesn't
Correct.
release, there's going to be an even bigger one. So it's best to
Correct.
have tiny little ones and one massive one.
Yeah, we don't want a repeat of 94.
No way. Oh my goodness.
No.
Hey, Alicia, so I just learned you've got a podcast called Bootstrap Bitch Podcast.
Bootstrap Bitch. Yep.
What got you started with that?
During the pandemic, I was talking to, it was before the pandemic. Maybe it was after. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I was talking to a girlfriend of mine whose husband, she found out, was having an affair. And she had to sell everything that she owned. And her and her 2 children moved in with her best friend into her best friend's garage, which was, like an ADU, like a guest house that once was a garage. So she went from this huge home in Silver Lake to this 400 square foot garage with her 2 teenage daughters. And I was just like, wow, you are one fucking bootstrap bitch. And she was like, that's genius. And so I trademarked it. So I own it. And then I started the podcast, and I started it really as an educational tool for myself. How people who seemingly look like they have everything, and something happens in their lives that completely takes them down into the rabbit hole of hell, and how they rise up again, how they pull themselves up from their bootstraps. So I talk about one woman who had a very famous makeup line and then became homeless, and how she, came up the ladder again and has a famous makeup line. I talked to an actor friend of mine who was a very successful actor, then became a junkie, and then was in jail, and how he rose again to be off Broadway. I talked about my friend Tim Amundsen, who everybody knows is a wonderful actor, who, was just about to buy a house in the hills. He had a pilot with Carol Burnett, and he was going to Florida to promote a film that he had done when he had a massive stroke in the airport bathroom and had to relearn how to walk. So I talk to people who have stories, people who have have risen from really their darkest days. And much like yourself, how do you pull yourself up by your bootstraps with dignity and integrity and get on with it?
I love that. Jeez, I
So
guess I'm a
that's,
bootstrap bitch myself.
you're
This
a
is
bootstrap
incredible.
bitch. Yes, you are. You are.
Hey, so Alicia, what's the most common thing though that you hear as far as how did they rise? How do they rise back from the ashes? What's the most common thing that you're finding out?
Well, each one of them had a lot of introspection. They were all very self-insightful, if that's a better way of saying it. Um, and they were scrappy motherfuckers, just scrappy.
What do you mean by that?
They just clawed their way up.
Mm.
They just clawed their way up, and they had faith.
So you mean
Faith
like
is a
grit when you think of
grit,
okay,
grit. Yeah, they had grit. They were scrappy,
okay,
like a New York City rat. You know what I
okay,
mean?
yes,
And um, and you have to have that. I have found through all the people that I've spoken with in order to not only survive but thrive.
yes,
But I also found that I think to a person, they all have a certain degree of faith, because I
yes.
think you have to have that. Because if you don't have faith in something other than yourself, then I think it's very lonely.
Mhm,
And I think um, with that faith comes a strength.
mhm. And when you're speaking of faith, are you speaking of like a higher power or internal faith, or what type of
Yeah,
faith specifically do they usually tell you they have?
there's, yes, to a higher power, to the universe, to you know to faith in themselves,
Hmm.
that they know that they're going to pull through. They know that they're going
Yeah.
to, and even some of the people who were just like, this is like the darkest that could ever happen, but it's not.
Hmm.
It's not the darkest till you're dead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so each person that I spoke to just really had a strength within them that got them through and out of the darkness.
Wow, that's really incredible. I can't wait to listen to some of these episodes.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you feel really empowered and motivated after talking to these people. So when you do.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, because when I was 12, my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. He was 38 years old at the time. And once that happened, I kind of say I'm still a 12-year-old girl. Like, I was stunted. So
Yeah.
my emotional being is not of a woman my age. I'm 12,
Hmm.
honestly. Because something just stopped in
Yes.
that moment.
Yes.
And I lived for the next 10 years, because he lived for 10 years after that, in a constant state of anxiety and uh unknowing, because I never knew if I came home from school if he was alive or dead. Then I was sent away to boarding school, so I never knew when I called home if he was alive or dead. So it was a constant state of vibration, and there was nobody to talk to. And so I never developed tools of how to overcome. I just did. I
Hmm.
think because the human spirit, I mean, I think as humans, it's that, fight or flight. And so
Yes.
my mechanism was just to fight. So, but I didn't have the tools to talk about it, and I didn't have the tools to really know what I was doing. All I knew was that I was just putting one foot in front of the other and just getting on with it. But I didn't know how to name it, and I still don't. So one of the whole reason for me doing the Bootstrap Bitch was to learn the words from other people.
I
So
love
because of
this.
these
Wow.
people, I developed a vocabulary, and I now put their lessons into what I unknowingly did for myself.
Mhm.
And so if I can spread that word for other people,
Yes.
no, I'm not alone.
Right.
Um, so if I can, help spread that, then, I've done something right on a Monday.
Absolutely. Alicia, what are some of those lessons?
I think I think knowing what I went through at 12 and still feel is to believe in yourself. I believe in myself because if you don't believe in you, nobody else will.
Exactly.
Nobody's coming to save you. There's community and you have your friends and your loved ones, but at the end of the day, it's you.
Yes.
To be gentle with yourself because it's so easy to pile on oneself. And with that, I'm going to tell you a little story. When one of my kids was in the hospital for, I think, an appendectomy or something, we were in the chapel and the chaplain came in and he sat down with us and we prayed and he gave me a piece of paper and it was a story about a donkey. And the donkey fell into this big hole, right? And so all the villagers were just like, we can't get the donkey out of the hole. He's just, we can't. So we might as well just bury him. And so one by one, all the villagers just kept piling dirt on this donkey, just trying to bury him, bury him. He's going to be buried alive. Just all this dirt on the donkey. But what they didn't realize is that the more dirt that they put, the better footing that the donkey had to step out of the hole.
Oh, wow.
And so I look at life now, when I go back to the lessons, as when we're in the hole and the shit is being piled on us, it's just more to get us to the top of the hole so we can get out.
I love this. They're stepping stones.
It's stepping. Each pile of dirt is another little step closer to the top.
Wow, this is incredible. I love this.
Yeah. So I always think about the donkey.
That's wonderful. Well, now I'm always going to think about the donkey myself.
Actually, it's burned. It's burned in your head now. You will, and anytime you see a donkey, you're going to remember me.
I will.
Which is like what they call donkeys and ass. So every time you think ass, you're going to go, oh, Alicia. There you go.
Oh my goodness. Anytime I think of ass and anytime I think of a bootstrap bitch, I'm just going to be like, oh man, let's get this going. All right, Alicia, I love this. It's incredible. Hey, so Alicia, so you have a short film that you did. Was it about your father?
Yeah. So my short film between us was, I had written my book called Gracefully Gone. And that took me 22 years and 3 pregnancies to kind of compile. But I did. And it's when my father went into remission, or not, well, I guess you'd call it remission, after he was done with radiation. So I think he wrote it in 1982, 83, retroactive to when he was first diagnosed. So he wrote this memoir, like a journal. And unbeknownst to him, because he was busy dying, I kept a journal after I graduated NYU and I came back to Huntington, Long Island, where I'm from, to help my mother take care of my father. And I kept a journal. And so basically, Gracefully Gone is a decade-long conversation between my father and I, unbeknownst to him. Well, I knew that he had the journal, but that's what it is. So I wasn't done with it. I don't know that I ever will be. And so what I do when I'm not done with something is I create art, right? And so I wrote the book, but I was like, not done. It's not really an interpretive dance. I'm not going to like tap to it. It's not, what else can it be? So I just started to tinker with the script. And I realized that I could tell the story about how I wish my life were, with my father, he as a ghost. So he's with me. And you don't know that until the very end. So I wrote a short film because I like the medium of shorts. It's concise, it's short and sweet. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so I pretty much gathered the troops as I do. And we shot between us. And so it had a very short festival run, but it did very well. And that gave me the impetus to realize what I could do. And so that was a couple of years ago. And then I was like, I'm ready to do something else. I have another story that I want to tell, but tell in an interesting way. And so then I wrote And You Are, starring Jane Seymour.
I see. So before we talk about And You Are, I'm still curious about the process of, so when you were writing the book about your father, there was an incomplete feeling. Did you feel more of the completeness when you did the short film about it, Between Us?
I did. Because I don't know how to say this, because I almost manifested him being here. And he was played by a very dear friend of mine named Gil Bellows, who looks a lot like my dad. And it just reminded me that he's here. He's here. And what's interesting, and I haven't told many people this, but when I'm in bed and I know that I'm alone, like my husband's not there, I will very often feel somebody sitting on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel the mattress.
Yeah, the weight and the energy
Yes.
kind of.
Yes. And so I know that he's there.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so then what I'm feeling is when you were writing the book, you had this feeling of incompleteness because there was a different means of way that you needed to express what you needed to get out. And in doing that, you're able to use your creativity to create a short film where you were actually able to more poetically, visually express how you were feeling your connection with your father now between you and him in a different way. And therefore, having a different outlet gave you the opportunity to have a little bit more closure, more understanding of your connection with your father on the other side.
Whatever you just said, man, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Wow,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, great artists or artists in general, creatives, it comes from somewhere.
Absolutely.
And just like we were talking about the earth quaking,
Yes.
we quake. And so we need to express ourselves. And
Yes.
so when I'm in pain or when I'm grieving or when there's just something, I figure if I have to be burdened, so should you. So I'm going to make art out of it.
I love it. Basically, love is an expression. Creation is an expression of love, and so you're using the avenue of love to create that expression, which is really beautiful.
Correct.
And so, yeah, that's really awesome, and that's really magical that you feel your father there, and that you're not denying his presence when you feel that energy.
No.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, and this is going to sound a little kooky, but whenever I'm worrying something or trying to figure something out in my head, and I'll be walking and all of a sudden I'll see a penny, and then I know that like I'm in the right direction.
Pennies from heaven.
Exactly. So I have pennies everywhere. Everywhere. I keep them all. Heads up, tails up, doesn't matter to me. It's still a penny.
Yeah. And you see it because intuitively you know it's a sign.
Yeah, I know it's a sign. Yeah. Yes.
Hey, what do you think helped you with your intuition? Because I know that a lot of people, are grieving or they've lost a loved one and they'll get signs. I've even had people tell me like this and this sign, but it can't be them. Like what kind of advice from your experience of your connection with your father can you give people that deny a sign or let's say they feel their bed go down or they feel depression, like, no, that's nothing. But what can people do to actually feel into that possibility of it really being their loved one?
Well, first of all, I'm a little bit of a witch.
Okay.
So I have that in me. Um
What do you mean by that, by the way?
I'm witchy. I have weird, I can smell illness.
Yeah, so your senses are very heightened and intuitive.
Yes. I'm very intuitive.
I love it.
I'm an empath.
Yes.
I can walk into a room and feel what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
with each person. I just kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, okay, so when you watch soap operas and all of a sudden you would hear, and today the role of Barbara is being played by Janice, right?
Uh-huh.
Or Barbara died in yesterday's episode, but she's risen from the dead in today's episode because we're talking, a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden, Barbara has an evil twin named Janice, right?
Yeah. Right. That happens.
Where I'm going with this is you just have to buy into it. Just believe. Because what's the flip side? You don't believe and then you don't have any fun. You might as
Yeah.
well just
Right.
believe. It's kind of like having faith. If we
Yes.
if we die and there's nothing there, we're not going to know it.
Right.
So while we're here, we might as well just have faith because it's kind of like believing in Santa Claus, which I believe in the spirit of Santa Claus.
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe
Me too.
in that. I like it. I like it. It makes me happy. I put my tree up in the first week of
Yeah.
November. I don't give a shit. It brings me joy.
Right.
It brings me joy, right? So my advice to people who feel the bed or who see the penny or who see the hummingbird or whatever it is, go with it. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
It's more fun than denying it.
Yeah, I love that. Alicia, have fun with it. And also have fun with faith, right? Just like you're saying. Like just have fun with faith. No need to, I mean, why not?
You know what? Exactly. And I remember there was a little girl that I used to carpool with. I used to drive her to school. Lovely girl. And I asked her what she wanted for Christmas or something. And she said that she wanted an iPod. And I said, well, do you think you're going to get that? And she goes, that's not my business. My business is I put it out there that I want an iPod. And I learned so much from her.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from this little girl. Her name was Beatrice. And so I used to call it like Tuesdays in the car with Beatrice. And I remember once she also said something really remarkable. She was having a birthday party and everybody wanted to come to her birthday party. And her mother said to her, wow, you are really popular. And Beatrice said, no, I'm not popular. I'm well liked.
Wow.
There's a difference. This is like a 12-year-old kid. And I was like, I think you might be Christ. I think you might be Christ. I'm not sure, but
Right.
yeah. So
It's really incredible the way how intuitive kids are. And then if only kids can continue there throughout their life, it's like you won't, there's no such thing as failure in that point because you're just trusting what's coming through from the beginning and just going with it and trusting yourself. And again, having fun with faith.
that's why I always say, trust the littles because they're closer to God
They
than
sure
we
are.
are.
Oh, yes.
Okay. They were just there.
Right.
So they know things
Mm-hmm.
and they know, like if a kid tells you early on, I want to be a doctor, chances are that kid's going to be a doctor,
Right.
There's just something about children that they just know shit.
They really do.
Yeah. They
And
know more than we'll forget.
yeah. And it's interesting too, because kids will call you out on your shit too. That's how much they know shit. I mean, I've had kids call me out on my shit right away and I change I change right then and there. An adult can call shit on me, but I won't change. But when a kid does, I'm like, holy moly, you see right through me. All right, got it. It's changed.
True. My littlest, I had a friend who is no longer a friend of mine over. And my littlest looked to her and she said, she was about 2 or 3 years old. And she looked at her and she said, you know what? I don't like you.
Wow.
And my friend at the time said, I don't like you either. And I was like,
wow.
And yeah, but it was a really interesting conversation that they both had. And my little one, Greta, she was like, I don't like that lady.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out she was right.
Talk about strong intuition.
Yeah, she was right.
Yeah, how lovely, though, that is as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk about truth serum.
Right. Yeah, all you need to talk to is a 3 or 4-year-old little girl, and they will tell you.
Oh, man, wouldn't that be great? I just thought as you're saying that, we should create some episodes with, like, talking with kids between 3 and 6, That would be so fun, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
They know a lot. They know a lot.
They really do. Oh man, I love this. So
Okay.
yeah, let's talk about your last short film, which I watched. Thank you so much for sending that to me. That it's very close to home for me, and of course,
Yes.
I cried at the end. I
Yeah.
know what I guess. Well, before we talk about it, could you tell our audience what the short film is about?
So I wrote and directed a short film called And You Are, and it stars Jane Seymour and Zach Barrick and Diana Liu. And it is about an elderly woman who is declining with Alzheimer's, who only has the past to prove that she exists, and her transgender grandson, who desperately wants to erase his past because it never proved who he authentically was. And so they spend every Sunday together in a visit. And they talk. They talk and they share. And I wrote it and because I wanted to tell a story that is near and dear to me in a way that's never been, or to my knowledge, that hasn't been told before. Um, and so not many people put Alzheimer's and LGBTQ plus together in the same sentence, rather, besides in the same film. So I just wanted to show um, that we are not as dissimilar as we think.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to shine a big light of compassion and love on two very marginalized communities
Yes.
because they aren't and they shouldn't be. And again, we are more similar than we think.
Right.
And also, I don't know a whole ton of people who hate old people with Alzheimer's, but I sure as hell know a lot of people who hate our LGBTQ, especially our trans community, with no fucking reason. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to show again, um, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
And
We're
that's what
all
I
the
love
same.
about that. That's what I really loved about your short film is the commonality that grandson and grandmother had,
Mhm.
and the love that they had to share, especially with the silent moments and the way they would look at each other. It's like we understand each other, we know each other. And also the thing that was challenging to watch too is people with Alzheimer's. I mean, Alzheimer's can actually start at 50 if it's genetic, and it obviously can go up to ages 70s and 80s and above. But even whatever the Alzheimer's population is, almost always their long-term memory stays, and the short-term memory is what they're having issues with because of the way different parts of the brain are affected. And so it was challenging for the trans actor to have to remind grandmother, hold on, while the past is what's most painful for the actor, the actress that had Alzheimer's, what's most painful for her is that she can't remember the present.
Correct.
And so they're both in each other's pain together, but still find the commonality of love, which is
Yes.
gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I figured, you know, if I can open up people's hearts and make
Yes.
them feel something when they watch And You Are, then I have opened their minds.
Hmm.
And what I have found, we did a screening. Lisa Gibbons hosted a screening and a Q&A at Providence Hospital and uh, at the Burbank Center. Um, and and we screened it in the LGBTQ plus room. And it was so interesting because there were so many people had so many different questions that were so interesting. But what I found is people reached out to me afterward, like, I'm going to go screen it with Zach at an assisted living facility because they want to understand more, like the residents want to understand more. It's being used as an educational tool, which I find super interesting. And I didn't realize that it would have that kind of effect that I would be teaching as well. And so I'm really proud of it for that reason.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what got you motivated to create a short film like And You Are?
Um, well, I have two family members, one who's struggling with Alzheimer's and another who is trans. And so I had to move very move through that in a graceful way, which was not, it's not that it wasn't easy, but it was hard. It's hard at times. You know, I lost my dad at a very young age, right? But his brain was completely lucid, but his body was dying.
Mhm.
And so now I have my mother, whose body is fit as a fiddle, but her brain is dying. And then I have my other family member who had to change gender to be happy.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of had to wrap my head around these different people and how everything was changing. And I wanted, again, to get it out of here, out of me,
Right.
and to something that made sense to me,
Mhm.
and to tell my story without telling my story, um, so that perhaps other people could not only relate to it, but see themselves in it, see other
Yes.
people in it,
Right.
um, and embrace it.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And it's quite beautiful too because even I I mean, I reveal to people pretty aware on my show that I'm trans man, and I have 10 years into when I first started my transition. I'm 44 years old now. I was 34, and it was really rough, on my family and stuff, and how painful it is to have to hear the word she when clearly they don't look like she. And so you said so much in your scenes without saying too much. You actually didn't even have to say much. It's like one sentence was enough to cover the entire feeling, at least for me, from having, experienced this firsthand. And so, I mean, I found it to be really emotional. Your 18-minute short film was very emotional. And it's just, we need to see more films like this because, I mean, I was part of a transgender documentary about 4 or 5 years ago, in which we talked a lot about what trans people go through as far as discrimination and not being seen. Um, it was I saw a lot of pain in everyone's interview. And so the twist that I see here in the way that you created a short film in differentiation to the documentary that I was in, I just felt the collaboration more of love at the end, which is what I feel the community needs the most of. We need more love collaboration because it's we're trying to love ourselves. That's why we're being authentic. Guess what? I'm going to be authentic now in myself because this is love. And I'm ready to express my highest version of myself, which is love. And in doing so, a lot of people already don't love themselves, and then they're going to see the difference in me, and there's going to be some kind of pain blocking the translation that I'm trying to create within myself and my own energy. And so that's the struggle that I feel that we face, and a lot of us don't have the right words or the amount of years lived to be able to have the wisdom of the words and the compassion within ourselves to be able to relate with the world one on one without feeling like we have to protect ourselves. And so, in handling or even cooperating or talking to people with the disabled community, they're mostly facing the same thing. So, people with mental illness, mental disorder, they're facing the same thing, even the elderly. And so that's another thing that I loved about your film. It's like, well, hang on a minute, because also people with Alzheimer's or mental health disorders or challenges, they're also facing a discrimination. And they're also not being protected or heard or loved the way that they want to be loved. Hey, this is the way they need to be loved now. This is their new version. And this
Mhm,
is the best they can do.
mhm.
And so, I mean, thank you so much for putting your heart into this and really opening the hearts of others and even opening my heart even more. It's really
Well,
quite beautiful.
well, that was the goal. And, I think when you have, when you are a parent, when you are a grandparent, when you are, if there are any children in your life at all, you have a choice. And that is, what side of the ground do you want these kids on? And I, for one, would rather my child or my family member be living the life they want to live than the life I thought they would live.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no room to not support, to not love, to not have compassion for. I mean, I think one of the loneliest feelings I would think is for a young child to feel like they were born in the wrong body and not have the words to express that. I think that must be terribly lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to teach our doctors early on age appropriate questions to ask children, to ask people, how do you feel in your body? How are you feeling? Because I know there's a lot of kids out there. There's a lot of people out there. You're a perfect example who, had you been allowed, had you been given the right vocabulary, perhaps, my family member or other people, you yourself could have started living authentically earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
thus removing maybe years of utter pain and suffering,
Oh yeah.
And, this is now become my mission. I mean, I'm going to the Human Rights Campaign dinner in DC. I am, I've co-founded something called Transmission Moms with another mom. And we're trying to, educate the medical community, especially the ones in med school right now. You know how they all have to carry Narcan or whatever it's called for overdosing? Every med student has to carry it in their backpack, right? And they all have to know how to use it. Well, I think that every med student should learn about the trans community and the questions to ask our children.
Absolutely.
That's the mission that we're on.
Right.
You
And it
know,
really needs to start. I interviewed this incredible trans woman on my podcast, and she's a chemist, and she says, it all needs to start from the time we're born. You can't say what's the gender of your baby or it's a male. No, what are the sexual parts that you are
yes,
visible to the eye?
that's right.
I mean, you choose your gender, so it's like it needs to start then. And that's where she's seen has been the domino effect of society and the doctors and the healthcare systems right from the beginning. It's like, hang on a minute, you got to start there.
Yeah, because
And
people
so,
don't know any, because they don't know any different. Like, we have not evolved, and we just have not evolved, and we need to evolve. And I mean, just the fact that in certain states, my family member would be, in jail or be denied, would be denied care. I mean, it's what is it to, like, what's it to you? You know what I mean? I mean,
yes,
really, like Florida, what the fuck?
right.
Kentucky, Alabama, like what's so scary for you? A little less fear, right? What are you
Yeah.
so fucking afraid of?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something right now. If I were asked to leave my two daughters, who are both minors, for a week, let alone a day, a week, alone with the rich white congressman in Alabama or a group of drag queens,
Yeah.
it's not even a choice.
Exactly.
Take them for a month.
Yeah.
Come back when you've had enough. You know what I mean? It would never even. It's like, what are you so afraid of? What? And it's kind of like, they doth protest too much. Like, what is it about you that makes you so afraid of this trans person?
What do you think it is?
I fucking know, because they're ignorant. They're ignorant. They're scared of what they are not. They're scared of different.
Either they're scared of what they're not, or they're scared of what they also are.
Correct. Yeah. Which is what I meant by, they doth protest too much.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because when when you're, really digging your heels in, there's something in that. But I don't understand it, and I won't understand it. And, but I would love to be in a room full of them and just ask them a bunch of questions, because I'd be really curious to know how many of these lawmakers have children, and how many of them would rather them dead.
Yes.
Because I guess, and I'm not a political person, but when it comes to kids, I want to say, okay, so basically with the anti-abortion but we have guns in school, and now we're not going to provide trans care, but we have guns in school.
Right.
So basically the government just wants to control how our children die. So they're either going to get shot or they're going to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oof.
God forbid a 12-year-old, no, she's got to have a baby. She's got to have the baby, regardless if it was rape or incest. No. We want that child on the planet so that it can probably be abused, neglected, and ultimately die.
Right.
So I guess that's their effort, is to figure out how to kill children.
It's so interesting. I mean, hearing you say this, it's like they're just so unaware and so asleep that even though we can blatantly say this and maybe they can put it into some logical sense, it doesn't feel strong enough for them to create change.
No. Well, it's not the change they want to see. I mean, it's kind of like there's no money in it, right? I mean, there's no money in it. I don't know. It's just like menopause. Our doctors, what, maybe study an hour and a half on menopause in med school, because there's no money in it.
Mm-hmm.
The money's in baby making and baby delivering.
Right.
I don't know. There's money in guns.
Ugh. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It can be
And I don't know if that
infuriating.
even makes sense, what I just said, but
It absolutely made sense. Yeah.
I just certainly don't understand the transphobia. I just don't understand what there's to be afraid of.
Yeah,
it's what people have in their pants or underneath their shirt is the least interesting thing about them.
Exactly.
I could give a shit.
Right.
I don't care if you're a purple dinosaur with pink polka dots. Doesn't matter to me.
Right.
It's really the least interesting thing, I find.
It really is. I just when I just look back at how far I've come into my transition and everything. I mean, I no longer feel like I'm transitioned. I feel like whole for the first time, but it's taken me almost 11 years to get here. But I mean, let me tell you, it's very clear and loud in my mind what I went through those first few years of my life and how I still had to hide and even hide my education as a brand new trans person. And, the amount of hate and discrimination that I got when I looked kind of like a woman still, but what are you? I got that a lot. Well, what are you? I joke and say, well, I'm a human being. What are you? And so I'm really hoping, that humanity will come into that sense of love and feel our connection, that we're all human. It doesn't matter. I mean, you watch Star Wars and people love the woman with the 3 tits and people talk about it. Hey man, she got 3 tits. Well, why is that okay? And why is that cool? It's like, hang on a minute. Well, what if you've got 6 fingers or 7 toes? You're still a human being. You're still a cool person no matter what. And I really hope and I feel, and that's just my light that always wants to keep shining, that at the end of the day we can all see each other for the heart and the love and the radiance that we all have, and really feel that we're all both genders anyway. We're masculine and feminine energies, and how we choose to express it is really none of anyone's business. The only thing that's our business is how much of your light are you shining of yourself so you can see your own path and just follow that journey. The journey is already there for you.
Oh, I love that. How much of your own light are you shining to light your own path? I like that a lot.
Our path is already there for us, and it's just how bright we shine and how we are able to express our authenticity that's going to enable more of the clutter to declutter.
Correct.
And once we're able to swim through that, declutter everything that's in the way, we're able to see that the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And then people see you for the light that you are, which is what we all want, because we're all light inherently. We're energy, and energy is light.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we're all a bunch of fucking unicorns.
Yeah, I'll say we are. Hell yeah, I'm a fucking unicorn.
You are. We're all unicorns. We all are. And I think the sooner that we understand it, the sooner we can all be in the, you know, in the world together, you know? I mean, if we can just acknowledge in each other
Absolutely.
that we all have that we're all light, we're all energy, we all vibrate. There's no difference.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I've had a couple of friends that are completely blind. It's like they don't know what I look like or who I've been or anything. They're cool with me, and they feel my energy, and we're good. How do they even know? You know, they don't know what I've been through. All they can do is they feel me, and I love this. People with disabilities, they're just the least judgmental.
Absolutely.
And so something that you said that actually got me to think about what I went through. And I don't often talk too much about myself on the podcast. I did in the beginning when I started, but I really love the authentic nature of this conversation. So you had mentioned, when we started talking about trans right now, just, how awful it would feel for a child to be feeling a certain way, but other people are telling them no. It's like, well, why wouldn't you believe me if I'm a 5-year-old little girl saying, hey, I'm a boy? No, you're not. Okay. All right. You're a princess. I am. Okay. All right. Fine. I'm Ariel today from Disney. I'm a Disney princess, but it's like, why not believe a child when they tell you what they tell you, especially if children are so intuitive and so keen and sharp with their inherent knowledge? If a child's telling you they feel a certain way, listen to it. It's coming from their authenticity, the most purest part. And for them to trust you to tell you that, there's something so sweet and tender in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what needs to be showered and bathed and loved and cared for. And the
Mm-hmm.
more we can shower this beautiful little seed, the more it's going to bloom into its authenticity. And that's the biggest tree that you're going to find in a garden. And so we all want to be big trees. We all have our own fruit to give.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, I personally, I remember, and again, a lot of it's education, because I grew up Latino and I mean, I was born, January 80, the 70s had just finished. And I remember being a little kid and always trying on my brother's clothes, and my mom and would get pissed off. What are you doing? And what did she do? She made me more feminine, put more bows in my head, more dresses. And then so, I mean, she didn't understand. She grew up Latina Catholic. I mean, what is she really going to understand? A lot of this is education too. And so people fear what they don't know. And when we can show them just how natural it is to express yourself a different way. Hey, your favorite color is red. You want to wear red every day? Go right ahead. Just like you want to wear red, I want to wear guys' clothes. And this is how I feel comfortable.
Well, I have two things I want to say about that. The first thing I want to say is, when little children are talking about, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, or, being trans, it's not head lice. Okay. It's not the clap. You can't pass it. I cannot make you not you any more than you can make me a trans man. Right. It's not the common cold. We're not spreading it. Okay. So when people are like, it's a phase. No. This is not, we're going to lose our virginity on prom night pact. This is not what it is. Okay.
Exactly.
Like, I'm doubting on Monday you went to bed and on Tuesday said, you know what, I'm going to get a voluntary double mastectomy today. That's what I'm going to do. You don't do that. Right. And then the second thing I want to say is, my middle kid, she came out of me and was immediately in like, I maybe had a bow in her hair for about a day. I don't know. It seemed like maybe a hot minute. Always wore boy clothes, just boy clothes. She just likes boy shit. Every time she'd be invited to the birthday party and they have little girl bags, little boy bags, I'd say to the mother, give her the little boy bag. She doesn't want the pink My Pony.
Yeah.
She wants the truck, right? And she is this lovely little lesbian, she's just like, she's fantastic. She's just fucking fantastic. And she just owns herself.
Exactly.
And she likes to have short hair and she likes to, but that this is just the way that she expresses herself. She's just never been like really feminine.
Right.
And so what?
Exactly.
So you give her the little boy bag because she wants the truck.
Yeah, exactly.
Let her have the truck.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm a woman, do I not get the truck?
Yeah.
And by the same token, if the little boy likes My Little Pony, give him the My Little Pony.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Again, what side of the ground, people? Just pick a side.
Yeah. Pick a side and the side of happiness and joy.
Exactly.
And also do more of it for yourself. Because the more you do of it for yourself, the more you're going to happily allow others to do the same thing for themselves. Correct. And that's harmony.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. And I think we just have to I think everybody needs to kindly fuck off. Mm-hmm. Really.
Yeah.
With respect. Leave everybody alone.
Yeah.
Just let us all, because everybody has a story. And you don't know what people are coming from or going to. So how about we just choose kindness and acceptance and compassion?
And I had to write this down. Choose kindness, compassion,
and acceptance. And respect. Because you may not understand, but it's none of your business to understand.
Right.
It really, it's like the iPod. I don't know. It's not my business where I'm going to get the iPod.
I love this. Choose kindness, compassion, acceptance, and respect. For yourself, first and foremost.
Sure. Well, because if you don't have that, then you're not going to have it for anybody.
Period. Ever.
And that's one of the things, that I've kind of learned, especially in making my movies, is that nobody's coming to save you. Right. Nobody's coming to help you. Mm-mm. Nobody's coming to write that script for you. Nobody's going to give you the job. You need to make it yourself. And I think that's true with everything in life. You got to be there for yourself. You got to show up for yourself. And in whatever way that looks like, you have to just show up for yourself.
You have to show up for yourself. And thank you for showing up for yourself here on A Little Less Fear podcast. Really, this has been crazy. I love this connection. This has been really beautiful. You've given me the opportunity to talk about myself as well, feeling safe and feeling open and feeling the love, and just you're really supportive. I'm really grateful that you're doing what you're doing, and keep it up. Keep expressing your heart in ways that you can, and allowing for that creative expression to bloom the way that it keeps blooming before your very eyes, because that's what's going to keep people connected and open the hearts and the eyes and the minds and the souls and the spirits of everybody all around us.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. So how can our viewers or watchers or listeners find some of your documentaries or get a hold of you if they need to? Well, I'm sorry, your short films.
Nowhere yet. I have to figure that out. So what I'm going to do, once the festival circuit is over, is I'm going to upload both. I could probably upload between us right now onto YouTube once I have to get my IT department, who's 14 and 15, to do that for me. They're my IT department. And it's literally like, if I have to sign something during the day, I'll tell people, okay, I can either do it before school or after school, but I cannot do it during school hours because my IT department is. So I'm going to upload it. Both of them will be on YouTube at some point. And you can see me on Instagram at Alicia_Coppola. I kind of dabble at Facebook a little bit, but not so much.
So IG at Alicia_Coppola.
Yep.
And where can our viewers or watchers and our listeners find your book?
Oh, on Gracefully Gone, thank you, Amazon.com, like yours. And also, here's some exciting news. I just directed a Lifetime movie
Ooh, that is
called
excellent.
He Slid Into Her DMs, and that will be
Whoa.
airing September 28th.
He slipped into her DMs, huh?
Slid into her
He
DM.
slid into her DMs. Holy moly.
Yeah, it's a good
Yikes.
one.
It
I'm
sounds like a
excited.
good one.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, definitely sounds suspenseful and like some
Yes.
incredible lessons and eye openers there.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
about Bootstrap Bitch Podcast? How can
Oh,
we tune
Bootstrap Bitch.
into that?
Yes, Bootstrap Bitch. Boy, I'm busy. I'm busy when I
You
think
are,
about it.
right?
Bootstrap Bitch is on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And it's been dormant because I've been busy doing other things.
Sure.
But I'm actually have a meeting next week to start building it again.
Excellent.
And it's going to have another life. It's going to have another. It's going to be reincarnated in a
Yeah.
bigger and better way.
Ooh, love it.
Because there's it. I'm so fortunate because there's really I have no shortage of people who want to talk and who want to share their stories.
Oh yeah, everybody. Most
Like
people
you're
do.
going to come
Yeah.
on. You're going to be my
Absolutely. I'm
guest.
there. I'm already there.
You're already there.
I'm already there.
So yeah, so that's happening, and I'm just raising 3 kids, and one laundry load at a time. That's
Holy
it.
wow.
That's
In this crazy LA summer. Oh my gosh.
No, that's just folding hot laundry. That's what you want to do, especially in menopause, in 95-degree heat. It's glorious. Yeah,
Well,
it's really
there's not too many men that could say they know what it's like to be in menopause. So I do know what it's like to be in menopause.
what it's like to be in menopause. And it is not.
Oh man, I love that I can say that actually.
You went through menopause and puberty at the same time.
I did. Oh my goodness, did I? Holy moly. Yeah, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Alicia. I have a poem here to share that I wrote dedicated to your energy in this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. There's no title to it as I just kind of flow through my writing, and here it goes. In the face of adversity, I am face to face with choosing either love or love. And in this choice I've made, my heart fills up with sunshine, feeling the mist of other voices yearning to be felt, yearning to be heard, yearning to be loved. If at all I've made an impact, I seal a letter with the warm arms of my heart, integrating diversity, connecting differences with the most uplifting blanket of light that I can knit. With my bare hands, I salute to humanity and I bow with integrity. And that's it, Alicia. Thank you so much. That's your energy. I appreciate it.
Wow. That you did that before even like meeting
I
me.
did. Yes, definitely.
That's some powerful. That's unbelievable. Can you send that to me?
I will type it up and send it as soon as we're done.
Oh man, that's really touching. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And
Thank
thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. This has been Alicia Coppola. Again, you can follow her on Instagram at Alicia_Coppola. And make sure you check out her podcast, Bootstrap Bitch Project. And yeah, looking forward to staying connected. Thank you so much for sharing your love, light, and your heart with the world.
Thank you so, and it's Coppola, but thank you so
You know,
much.
why am I not getting this right?
That's
Coppola.
okay. You got my first name right. You have no idea how many people bastardize my first name. So
Alicia Coppola.
there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to A Little Less Fear podcast. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends and your family about A Little Less Fear podcast. And if you are interested in being on my show, feel free to leave me an email at alittlessfear@gmail.com. Or if you have any questions or comments and you also want to leave me an additional message, you can also do so from my website, leaving an inquiry at www.alittlessfear.com. You can get a copy of my book on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and Amazon Kindle Unlimited, also titled A Little Less Fear. And thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. Leave me a review if you get a chance. I love to receive feedback, questions, and comments. And any way that I can be a support to you, please let me know. Thank you so much. I love you. Wishing you love, light, happiness, and many blessings your way.